You know what grinds my gears? Nitpicking grammar Nazis. Now, mind you, it's not the fact of the initial grammar Nazism that bothers me. It's the fact that it's doing exactly what was intended of the English language. See, every so often when you're on the internet and you type something, someone's gonna come along and correct you. Maybe they're just neurotic, but most of the time it's because they have no counter argument. So what they're going to do is nitpick at your grammar in order to somehow invalidate what you said. As if my phone isn't red just because I spelled the word red wrong. Well, yes, it's still a red phone. Maybe I spelled the word red wrong, but the fact that it's red is still valid. So it doesn't matter who said it or why, or if it was mispronounced or anything. A is A. And, but somehow they want to change the definition of what right and wrong is. Suddenly 2 plus 2 equals 5 because, oh, you spelled it wrong. And this isn't something that just people all of a sudden started to do. It has historically always been there. And that is the root of the English language. I have no doubt in my mind that English language, the language I am speaking right now to you, is the devil's language. This is the language of devil worshippers and demons. Because only white people had the audacity to make such an intricate and self-contradicting language. That way nobody else could master it. That way they could control the schools, they could control the land and the resources. They had this tightly knit community of white privileged people that had higher education and things like that. And that way, if the slaves ever rose up, they could always say, well, them niggers can't talk as good as us. So that's how they kept everything in line. It was all very convenient for them to spend more time trying to sound articulated than actually being articulated. Instead of actually having something of substance to say, they make it sound like that we have to worry about what we're saying in and of itself. That's why white people care when you use curse words. Is it starting to make sense now? No other language gives a fuck what you say, word for word. In fact, many other languages use curse words in their daily life. Even the children. They don't have the concept of words you don't say unless you're an adult. And words you don't use ever because it's bad and it's racist and that. Only white people seem to have that fucking concept. Only white people invented that concept. Why? To create even more class barriers. It's not enough to have physical class barriers. The fact that you have this much money in your pocket and that person over there has that much money in their pocket. No, they had to create abstract class barriers, mental class barriers, that you can't say this and you can't think that. And if you say this wrong or you write it wrong, that somehow it makes you less of a person. That's a white people trait. I am sorry to tell you. And I know there are going to be some people in here just accusing me of being a reverse racist and bullshit like that. But I have never in my life encountered any other culture as twisted and deceitful and despicable as the white culture. And I mean that. I wouldn't just say that. But, I've read a history book. And I've looked into different cultures and things. And I have never seen this much effort put into being better than your fellow human being as in white European Anglo-Saxon culture. So what does that fucking tell you? And, that's what it really comes down to. That's my beef with grammar Nazis. It has nothing to do with the fact that I don't know that what I say is always right anyway. Obviously I know that. Most of you know that as well. And, at the end of the day, we all know that they're only just doing it to troll. They know that they have no argument to stand on, so they're just trolling us. And a lot of times they get away with it. Because there's a lot of fucking stupid people out there that actually do believe that grammar matters at all. And it doesn't. But it's the very fact that they have that intent, that when you break it down to its most simplistic form, they actually have the intention of doing that. That's what bothers me. It's not the thing in and of itself. It's the fact that their entire motivation for thinking, for doing, for delivering is to be evil. That is their essence. A is still A. And in this case, evil is still evil. So that's what I'm talking about. When I talk about moderators and things, I'm talking about that when you break down the axioms, when you get down to the nitty-gritty, it's just pure fucking evil. There's nothing left. There is nothing to cut below the surface. The singularity is that it is evil intent and evil practice. Because you can't reshape that. You cannot spin it around and suddenly make it a good thing. It is always a bad thing. They want it to be a bad thing. And, that's what pisses me off. That people are willing to accept this evil. And they gratify it. And they worship it. And they revel in it. And they roll around in it like a fucking pig in the mud. Why? What the fuck is wrong with you? And how are you going to look down on other people's cultures when you're acting this way? When you know what your ancestors did, but you're talking about how, black people, they're just lazy, they don't want to work. Oh, the fucking Mexicans, the Jews, Don't fucking talk. I don't want to fucking hear it. I don't want to fucking hear about your stupid racist bullshit when look at what your culture's done to the fucking world. Look what it's doing currently to the fucking world. All because there is nothing else, in essence, to your culture and to your people besides evil. Now, does this mean that white people are evil? No. But I'm saying white culture is evil. I'm saying white identity is evil. And I would go as far as to say all identity and all culture is evil. And I'll be getting into that in my book. But none are so much more vibrant, so much blatant about it as white culture and white people. So, I just figured I needed to say that here because I'm pretty fucking sick and tired, really, of, people saying how I mispronounce this word and I spell that word wrong. You don't even fucking know if English is my first language. I know 3 goddamn languages. That's 3 more than you do. Because guess what? You do not have a very fluent vocabulary as it is. I've seen most people get pissed off because I tend to use big words. And it's not because I'm trying to sound smarter than what I am. I'm not trying to impress anybody. It's just that I figure that word fits better at describing what I'm trying to describe than a lesser word. I'm not going to bother to learn new words unless I plan to fucking use them. So, if something seems like it emphasizes more so than a lesser word would, then I'm going to use it. And, so that's why I increased my vocabulary. And I learned several languages because, well, I get bored. And, it's something to do. So, yes, I know several languages, and I'm not going to say whether or not English is my first, because it shouldn't matter. And the very fact that you don't know implies that, what, you're going to judge me for not speaking the language as well as you, who was fucking born and raised in the United States or in Canada or in England or wherever else in the West. So, yeah, the brown guy should have to speak just as well of English as you. Because, everybody's got to know English. Everybody's got to know perfect English. What is wrong with them for not having their own language and not having their own cultural identity? Well, yes, that's the problem with everything, but if you can do it, why can't somebody else? Moderator logic. That's the idea that somehow someone can do something, but someone else can't. There's this magical immunity, and that primarily seems to be a white people philosophy. So, I guess that's all I have to say here. I'll probably make a part 2, because there was another point I wanted to make, but my cold is really acting up, as you can tell. So, I'll see you later.